I've been coming here every morning for a month. Something about the morning breeze helps to clear my head. I lost my husband recently, you see. He was a fighter pilot in the RAF, killed in action. As luck would have it, the war ended only a week later. Typical really, isn't it? We used to come here often, me and Henry. Sometimes just passing through on our way into the village, sometimes for hours at a time. In fact, we could lose track of the time. It used to fly by. I didn't really know what to do with myself when I first heard of Henry's death. The first few days I spent crying, like a broken-hearted child, just looking through old photographs and reading the letters he used to write me. My heart, forever yours, he would sign each one. A hopeless romantic. I do rather miss him. That's Henry. It was taken a few days after we were married. He was always so full of life. Seems too hard to think that only a few years later well, it doesn't really bear thinking about. It's true I miss him, but I do manage. But then I suppose the hardest part isn't the coping. The hardest part really is accepting that he's gone.
Excuse me, miss, but I don't suppose you mind if I took your photograph?
No, not at all.
Forgive me, but you do look rather beautiful, gazing off into space like that. You don't mind, do you? Thanks. I must admit, you look like you are miles away, your head up in the clouds by the looks of it. No doubt thinking of something or somebody wonderful. My name is Roger, by the way. Roger Beckfield.
Ruth Rayburn.
Very nice to meet you, Ruth. Would you mind if I sat down with you? Thanks. I hope I didn't upset you, Ruth.
Of course not. Why would you upset me?
Well, you are unhappy, aren't you? Do forgive me, Ruth, but I've never met you before in my life, and I have no rights to say this. But I couldn't help but notice that you weren't smiling. You have a very pretty face, if you don't mind me saying. You ought to smile.
I'm afraid I haven't smiled in rather a long time. I hate to bore you with my troubles, Mr. Beckfield. I'm sure you must have some of your own.
Well, we all have our problems, Ruth, but sometimes boring each other with them is the best way to fix them. And you can call me Roger.
Forgive me, Mr. Beckfield, but I've never met you before in my life either. What makes you so sure you'd be able to help me?
Well, I can't promise anything, but don't you think I might be worth a try?
All right, Mr. Beckfield. My husband is dead. Now how do you propose to help me?
I'm sorry.
I shouldn't have said anything.
How did it happen?
He was a pilot. He went and got himself shot down somewhere over Germany. I'm sorry, Mr. Beckfield. I didn't mean to be rude. I just haven't spoken to anybody about it before.
No, it's my own fault. I shouldn't have barged in like that. And you're right, I can't help you.
It's alright. I know you meant well.
Me and my big mouth. What was his name?
Henry. I met him in this park. I was with my friends and he was with his. He was trying to impress me, fooling around by the water. But it was so bloody clever until he fell in. He needn't have tried so hard. I fell in love the moment I laid eyes on him. It only took us a year to get married. He couldn't wait. I suppose it was for the best, though. Not long after that, the war started. Henry was off, joined the RAF.
Was he a good pilot?
One of the best.
You must hate the Germans.
I don't hate the Germans. I don't hate anybody, really. I just hate the bloody war. And what about you, Mr. Beckfield? What's your story?
Nothing remarkable. I volunteered just after the start of the war. I had experience with mechanics, so it was the RAF for me too.
You're a pilot?
I wish. I would have been if it weren't for these. Instead, I just looked after the planes. No heroics for me, I'm afraid.
You don't have to fly a plane or shoot a gun to be a hero.
No, quite right.
Did you ever fall in love?
Once.
Who is she?
A nurse. She was stationed at the same airfield that I was. She looked after me when I burned my arms after an engine fire. I was right as rain when she finished with me.
What's her name?
That doesn't matter. I thought we were here to fix your problems.
I thought my problems couldn't be fixed.
Any problems can be fixed.
I remember once, soon after he was called up, he asked me if I would ever marry again. You know, if anything happened to him. I said no, of course. But he made me promise that I would. Kind of him.
He sounds like a good man. He must have really loved you.
Yes, he did. He was so romantic. He used to write me the nicest letters. I've read each one 100 times. And 100 times more since he died.
Tell me, Ruth. What if it had been the other way around?
What do you mean?
Well, what if something had happened to you? Would you have wanted Henry to remarry?
No, I don't think I would. Is that selfish of me?
No. I suppose that's only natural.
If something happened to your wife, would you remarry?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Mr. Beckfield. I shouldn't be bothering you with my problems. You must think I'm such a nuisance.
I don't think you're a nuisance, Ruth. In fact, I know exactly how you feel.
How on earth could you understand how I feel? The nurse you fell in love with. What was her name?
Her name was Mary.
Her name was Mary. I'm sorry, Mr. Beckfield.
That's okay, Ruth.
When did it happen?
2 years ago, during an air raid. There was no need for it, really. There was hardly a squadron left at our airfield. They could have left us alone. It wouldn't have made any difference to them.
You must hate the Germans.
I don't hate the Germans. I don't hate anybody. I just hate the war.
Mr. Beckfield, how did you learn to cope?
That's a good question. I wish I knew the answer.
Some days it hardly feels worth getting out of bed. Some days I hardly want to carry on. Some days I just want to give in. Don't you ever feel like giving in?
Every day. But where would be the sense in that?
It would be so easy.
And what would Henry think? Do you think he would want you to give in?
No, I suppose not. He'd want me to find somebody new. But I never could do it, Roger. Even though I promised him. I never could.
I know. And neither could I. It's not about finding somebody new. You don't need to stop loving Henry. Same as I could never stop loving Mary. But that's no reason to stop living. We owe them that much.
Yes. Yes, you're right. Of course you're right. You're a wonderful man. It's no wonder Mary fell in love with you. May I? Thank you, Mr. Beckfield.